right. My name is Ken Eston Cook. I'm with the publisher of the Fredericksburg Standard Radio Post, a newspaper, and I have a special guest with us this week. It is Milton Crenwelge. He's the longtime owner-operator of Crenwelge Automotive Group. And Mr. Crenwelge has been a business and a civic leader in this town for many decades, and he's going to talk about his career. He will be the Grand Marshal in the upcoming Fair Parade, correct?
That's what I understand.
That's great. And I guess first thing we need to talk about is this will be your second parade to be a Grand Marshal. You had another parade where you were the leader.
Oh,
when you moved the dealership.
yeah, 1948 when we moved from downtown from the east to the west.
Okay, down to the 400 block of
the 400 block of West Main.
Okay,
as you know, when you come in on 16 at the courthouse, if you take a right, you're in the 100 block east. If you take a left, you're still in 100 block but west. So.
Okay,
and we were in the east.
And they actually closed down the highway, and you guys had a parade coming down to the new location. That's awesome.
I got to drive the first new car from the east end to the west, and had the Fredericksburg High School band, behind the car, the parade. That's moving the cars.
That's a great event.
Yes.
So Crenwelge Motors started as a service company by your father in 1927. Is that right?
That's right, sir.
And then
service station and a repair business.
Mm-hmm. And then you all got into the selling cars in 1940. Is that
correct?
Got
the first franchise in 1940.
Okay.
And 18 months later, the World War II broke out. Mm-hmm. We didn't have any new cars for 4.5 years.
Oh, wow.
But luckily, with the service station and the repair business, pulled us through those years.
Able to keep it going.
Yes.
Yeah. That's one thing I was going to ask you about, is what it was like running a business during the war years.
We sort of like what we just went through. We had sort of prepared us for what we just went through.
With coronavirus. And
how to survive.
Right, yeah. Right. Let's talk about the history of Crenwelge Automotive Group, and you all started in the 100 block of downtown here in Fredericksburg.
Yes, the 100 block, better known as the Dooley's block.
Right.
If you'd have said they were in the 100 block, people wouldn't have known. But he says we're in the same block as Dooley's, which, of course, it's always said, talked about the 28 service stations that was in Fredericksburg before World War II and during and after. And then 8 franchise car dealers.
Wow.
And Chrysler in those days had 3 divisions, Chrysler, Dodge, DeSoto. Each had Plymouth. So we had 3 Plymouth dealers in one block in the Dooley's block. Across the street from Dooley's where Wynn's was, if a lot of them grew up, there's Wynn's, that was the Joseph brothers had Dodge Plymouth. A few doors up, next to your publishing company, Standard Service was Chrysler Plymouth. And we were at the end of that same block with DeSoto Plymouth.
Okay.
So, and of course, across the street from us, where's the Chase Bank now, where's this Doggology, that was the Western Auto, that was the Chevy dealer.
Okay.
And right across with the Sinclair station, also had Pontiac, so there was a Pontiac dealer.
Yeah.
Half a block down was a Ford, and a block over was American Motors. Better known as a Nash in those days.
That was a huge part of the local economy back then, wasn't it?
Nobody got rich, but everybody made a living because you worked 16 hours a day and you looked out for each other.
All right. I bet. And so the building that's there now is the Christmas store, which is on the southeast corner of Llano and Main.
That's right.
So that's where the original dealership was,
yes,
and then.
If you notice it doesn't face Main Street nor Llano. It sits catty corner, so you can cut the corner.
Okay, right. Talk about some things you remember about being downtown, because you got started very early as a teenager, correct? Working for your dad?
Well, at the age of 16, at the age of 10, and some say, well, you weren't there at 10. And I said, well, I do remember that my father told me pasta drive out. It was all German in those days. Watch the drive.
Okay.
Because I was in the service station drive. I'll be back later. About 2 hours or so later, he came back and he says, "Du hast neue Bruder. You have a new brother." Well, my brother, Reuben Jr., was 10 years younger than me. So I said, that proves it that I was on the job when I was 10 because I was on the drive when he was born down at Keitel's Hospital.
And so your father, he was Milton also?
No, he was Reuben.
He was Reuben, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Reuben Sr. And then the next boy was born on my father's birthday.
Okay.
And the nurse said he's got to be a junior, so he was Reuben Crenwelge Jr.
Okay, so Reuben was the oldest, and then you, and then...
No, he was 10 years younger. Remember?
Oh, that's right, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have a sister that's 2 years old. It was a girl.
Okay.
Rose that was 2 years older than me, and then a sister and another. So I grew up actually with three sisters.
Okay.
And then Reuben and Marvin were born, later.
Okay. And Marvin is still
He's
there.
The baby.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and we lost Reuben a few years ago.
Right. He was such a nice guy.
Yeah, but all three of us worked in the business. Reuben was our service manager for 52 years. And I think that's what helped make our business, because you had one member of the family just as interested in service as you did in selling.
Sure. Yeah. The important part of it. And you guys just had the touch, I guess, now it's common for people to have word of mouth be your best reference, and you guys you made friends and customers all those years and kept them coming back.
Well, I always said half of our customers bought to get the service from that the brother put out,
Sure.
Responsible for.
Okay.
Yes,
okay, so we know you've sold a car, or you helped Willie Nelson trade in a Jeep, and then there was another famous person who also came by your dealership when he was visiting here. Can you tell us about that? About Mr. Hope?
Oh, Bob, well, what happened there is when they moved the fairgrounds from where HEB is now out to the present, they had a grand opening. And the Fair Association got Bob Hope to come into Fredericksburg for the entertainment for the grand opening that evening. His twin-engine plane couldn't land at that time out at our local airport, so he had to borrow Lyndon Johnson's,
runway.
Yeah, in Stonewall, and so I think it was into JC's. That's one of your first civic things, is the JC's. And they asked me, since I was in the car business, if I could furnish a car, go down and pick them up. And two or three of us, JC's, of course, we wanted to meet Bob Hope. We had this brand new Chrysler New Yorker on the floor, white vinyl roof and the leather seats. Anyway, those guys had been a little more advanced in meeting these than I didn't. They had a little pamphlet to get his signature, and I didn't have that. So anyway, we get down and he gets out his plane and we introduced ourselves, and of course they immediately wanted his signature, and I'm standing there and I didn't have it. So of course those guys carry these felt pins, and he walks over. He says, "Your car?" "Yes." He goes and it's got this nice vinyl roof, and he puts Bob Hope. He signs it. So, of course, oh my God, I didn't. Yeah, you can't. This is a brand new car. Oh well, I'll wash it off when I get after the. Well, that's I was too tired. The next morning, there's a lady, and anyhow, she noticed. And I just fixed it, tried to scrub it off, and she asked. And I told her. She gets on the phone, and she calls her husband in Dallas. She traded her Imperial in it, and because some of her friends had these Lincoln Town cars with signature series, she had a Bob Hope special.
Did you charge her extra for that one?
No, I was so happy that I didn't ruin that vinyl roof.
So 1948, you all moved from downtown to Maine and Milam.
Yeah, well. Yeah, when you say downtown, of course, They started on the outskirts in 1927,
Okay.
then moved to which was across the street from Walmart today.
Okay.
Next to the strip mall, where you have AutoZone, where they sell the rocks. Next to it, you got these rock columns. The bolts are still sticking up. I think you have a picture of it there. And that was called Fredericksburg Tourist Park.
Okay.
So next to it was a service station with a little house attached. And that's where my dad started that service station and repair in 1927. Then in 34, moved Midtown, where that we talked about a minute ago. And then so that was 27, 34, and in 48 into the 400 block. And then in 201, it's as far as we can go, like Ali Shitter says. From here on, it's across the street.
Yep. Okay, and then you said 01, you all moved out here to the west
Y,
side. Okay.
the old Heinz Chevrolet place originally.
It's a special thing to have a family business for as long as you all have had the business. So can you talk about the succession from your father and then on to the next generations after that?
Well, my dad had heart trouble, and he passed away at a young age of 56. Now, I think I was 28. So someone almost 30 years older. I said, well, he was 56. But then there comes a time you have a birthday, you're 56, and you think back to that comment, and boy, he was a young fella.
Sure.
Boys was still in school, the brothers. And, a woman in those days couldn't be a car dealer. So,
different time.
Of course, different times. Businesses can be, big business can be cool. I remember the telegram when my dad passed away. Dear Miss Crenwelge, I just saw this night. We regret the fact that Mr. Crenwelge passed away. The next sentence, as stated in paragraph, I think it's 34, this automatically terminates your dealer agreement. That's it.
Oh, no.
So we continued working, and they finally renewed it. And then she was the owner, but made me the dealer because I was a male.
Okay.
So I became a dealer at the age of 28.
Okay. Oh.
And,
kept it in the family.
Yeah. And then later, bought the family business because there was, there were 6 kids plus when you get, anyhow. But all 3 boys stayed and worked with the business.
Right. Okay. And then your 2 sons also have been involved in the business.
That's right. They grew up in it just like I did. And of course, that's tried to instill what my dad taught me. It wasn't so much in those days, what do you think you want to do? It was, du musst denken. You don't got to think. This is what you want to do someday,
Yeah.
So, and it taught you a few. I had a mother-in-law who always say, time changes everything, and nothing stays the same. And my dad would hear that, and he'd chime in. But there's some things never go out of style. Good business ethics, good morals, good principles, that was
for sure.
Honesty, Like after World War II, when they started making cars again, like tractors and implements, people would go sign up at the Ford, Chevy, Plymouth, whichever, maybe put $100 deposit down. Whichever came in first, that's what they usually bought. And you could either refund the deposit or keep it. He believed if I couldn't get the car in time, you get your money back.
1979, you all acquired the Kerrville dealership.
Yes, sir.
And so just expanding the family business.
Well, I liked the business and I liked to sell. And the gentleman over there was a super nice guy. He was a good dealer, but he was getting that age to retire. And he had 2 sons also. One became a doctor. One liked the parts business, but he didn't like to sell cars. And so anyway, it was rumored that and I was so.
Okay.
So thanks to Lehigh Coca.
Talk about what it was like back in because I know every year in September was a big deal when the new models would come out.
Yeah, starting in September, October, November, that's about the time the big.
Okay.
And of course, in those days, that was always a big event. That's like in Fredericksburg, we had 2 events a year: the oldest county fair in the state of Texas, and the new car shows, whether it was a Ford, Chevy, and coffee and donuts. Usually homemade cookies in those days. My mother started 2 days before and started making. Anyhow, yeah, and so you'd hide the cars, and then you might even cover up the windows for a day or 2, getting ready, and then have a big opening. And people, regardless of what they drove, they made all the just as a vendor something to do. We didn't have television, so they gave them something to do. You know, big things.
I bet that was fun. One more thing, talk about. I know you still own a lot of classic cars, and so can you talk about some of your favorites? Because you can still see them around town. In some places.
Actually, my favorite would be my 1940 DeSoto custom convertible, because that was the first year. Now, my dad never got to sell a DeSoto convertible in Fredericksburg, Texas. Not in 1940, Good, like I say, 18 months later, the war broke out. But since that was the first year, and it was a beautiful car, all the cars were pretty. I'm not just trying to say, whether it was a Lincoln or, they had the teardrop fenders in the style. But it just happened that you have international auto shows. One year might be in New York or Detroit, in Japan, in Frankfurt. In 1940, the International Auto Show was held in Paris, France. And the 1940 DeSoto custom convertible in this cream color with red leather seats won the styling award of all the cars built in the world.
Wow.
And that's the car. Not necessarily that car, but that exact color. I forgot that. I had a chance to get in.
And you all had that car in a couple of recent parades as well, didn't you? Yeah,
and it'll
a beautiful car.
Be in the fair parade this year. We set it and made a float out of it. Anyhow.
Well, coming up Friday will be the Gillespie County Fair Parade, and Milton Crenwelge will be your Grand Marshal for that event. And we just congratulate you for so many years in business, and we thank you for coming in and visiting with us.
Thank you for having me.